Hey, welcome back. Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. In fact, I'm feeling better than ever. Not really, because I have a 7-inch scar in my butt. I used to love my butt. Now I hate my butt. My butt hurts a lot. But you know what else is great though from the whole experience? My hip doesn't hurt. Despite recovering from major surgery, that hasn't stopped me from sneaking out here with my walker or my cane in the middle of the night to play with the Ricoma MT-1501. That was thankfully provided to me because God knows if I bought anything else, my husband would murder me in my sleep. So what I really want to do with this particular video is show that not only have I survived the surgery, but also give you kind of my first impressions of the machine now that I've had more time with it. And I mean unfiltered impressions of the machine coming from already using a multi-needle from another brand that I had before, which was the Brother PR1055X. There's nothing wrong with that machine. I sold the machine to an awesome person. Thank you very much if you happen to be watching this. I really do appreciate that because it's very hard to sell off these kinds of big machines. They're so specialty, you know? So coming from that perspective, I can kind of give you an understanding of like, what are the big differences and how do I feel about this? Also, if you can hear that lawnmower, you can thank my lawn guy. He's very punctual. Let's get it out of the way and state the obvious. It looks industrial. It looks a little scary. It doesn't look as friendly as the machines that hide a facade over all of the gadgets and wizardry so you can't see what's going on. You just know there's something happening under there. There's good things and bad things about that. When you get a machine that's more like domestic aligned, it's going to be a little easier to pick up and go with. But if you have a problem with it, you can't fix it. You have to go pick up that machine, which let me tell you, is not easy, and take it down to a shop and have them work on it. With something like this, at least I have knobs and wazzadoodles and everything all over where I can actually just fix it myself. That's what I like about industrial stuff, is it's just bare bones, simple, easy, and doesn't have all those whiz-bang features. I will say the one thing I do miss is the auto threader because I'm not using 20-year-old eyes anymore and I really have a hard time with the needle. The threading system is a little different than what you would expect. It's a little more involved with like turning and wrapping, and it's got these really neat tubes though. That I do like because my cats used to like to come up here and try to eat the thread. Now I don't have to worry about it. I'm in a garage. But I do actually like the tubes here. And one would think, oh, they're airflow tubes. No, they're not. It comes with a tool so you can kind of pull the thread through. Now, knock on wood, I haven't had to do that yet. It came threaded, it came tensioned, which was fine. I will say it came tensioned for flat embroidery with just like 2 layers of a cutaway stabilizer. That's not gonna give you a very accurate picture of your tension. You need to do tension based on what material you're going through. So like this dad cap that I have prepped for part of the video feed that I'm doing. Hey, lawnmower guy. Anyway, that is so professional. Anyway, so the dad cap I have on here, I have 2 layers of cutaway stabilizer, and because dad caps are just really loosey-goosey, it's basically curved twill. So you need to make sure that you have it like stabilized really well. And initially tensions, I had a couple of threads that were constantly breaking, like consistently breaking. And that for me is a signal that the tension is actually just a bit too high. So the way I did it is when it would break, the machine is very good at letting you know. It will scream at you. This little alarm bell goes off, and then you can start to use the buttons over here to like backtrack and then restart. But when the alarm would go off, I would very slightly, just a quarter turn, maybe even less, go with that and keep doing those quarter turns until it's not breaking anymore. So again, it may depend. You may have to just adjust tensions manually every time you need to do a different fabric. So if I was doing a very thick bath mat, for example, I would want to like loosen my tension. It wouldn't be the exact same tension I would be using with the dad cap, even with 2 layers of stabilizer. If you think about the bath mat, you're going through a ton of rubber. But you know, tension's something every sewist should know. And I feel like a lot of the machines that are out there these days have a tendency to hide that with auto tension and not having all of the knobs and wazzadoodles that you would see here. For example, I didn't have all of this nor this tension bar on my brother. It just wasn't there. It wasn't there for me to see. It was inside the head, which is covered by a giant plastic board. So thread count. My brother, and as far as I know, the biggest size that they carry is a 10 needle for domestic users. I don't know if they have anything else that's a little more industrial. This is a 15 needle. I never thought 15 would be too little until I started realizing that I keep my core colors on this side and then all the ones that I swap on that side. And I ended up swapping a lot when doing a ton of tests. And it's like, mother of God. So while in my head, years and years ago, I thought I would never need anything more than just one needle. I just do these one-off things. You can find yourself increasingly becoming a little more and more grumpy every time you have to change the thread colors. But I get this lined up for a project and I let it go and I do several. So if you're doing more production style work, which you should be doing with an industrial machine like this, then yeah, you're probably fine with the 15 thread colors. I am using Madeira cones and I bought those from, was it All Stitch? All Stitch, I think. That's normally where I grab my cones, and they're awesome. And I'm just really stubborn. I'm stubborn about moving the cones because they're so cool looking. Now, if you are coming from a smaller machine, even a more domestic machine, 10 needle, whatever, and you have the smaller cones, because sometimes I won't buy, let's say I've got some, this will be easier. If you have a cone like this, you know, something that's smaller, something you can actually pick up at your local quilting store. They sit very awkwardly on the poles back there, but there's these overflow sections here, which is why I use this side specifically for when I'm changing, like if I need to change a thread color. Let's say I need the pink. I don't today, but I did the other day when I snuck down here at 3 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. I put them over here on the side and they don't have like the little attachments. I haven't figured out how to get those off of there. Let's see if I can raise one of these and you can see. So right under here, there's this little guy. Whoop, my hand's covering it. Right there, that plastic piece that's at the bottom, and it's meant to hold these larger cones to keep the cones from like flipping around and bobbing all over the place. Doesn't really work so well when you have these smaller guys. It's even worse with this one for whatever reason. And the thread gets caught underneath here on these smaller spools. So it causes the thread to get caught and then the tension is all off. I don't know if there's a way to pull those off. I want to say there is, but I've been too chicken to actually pull on these because I don't want to snap the poles. So let's talk about those manual adjustments and things that you can make. Things that you normally wouldn't see in a more domestic looking machine. This right here is the alignment dial for the head. I was very impressed when I did my training that I could actually adjust the head alignment if for whatever reason this thing got knocked out of alignment by a needle breaking against the needle plate or the hoop hitting something on the wall. Not that I've ever had that happen. No, I've totally had that happen. You're lying if you've never had that happen. And so instead of actually getting out of alignment and having to go directly into a store carrying a 100-pound behemoth, you can try to do adjustments here at home without having to drag it in. The display is definitely a little different. It's a little more mechanical, a little more old school, but honestly, all of the functionality that I've ever wanted is still in here. I don't really care about built-in designs or built-in alphabets. At this stage, with my embroidery, I'm not doing anything with like automatic stuff. I'm either purchasing fonts, great fonts off of Etsy or directly from Hatch, for Hatch embroidery, or just, making my own dang designs. So I don't really care about built-in. There are a couple of built-in fonts, but that's just like for really quick stuff, quick monogramming, which of course you can even do in your embroidery software, whichever you choose to use. I'm not like a huge proponent of any one or the other. But it's all the same stuff. that you would ever expect. You know, moving, if you have a thread break, moving your stitches back a bit because it never catches the thread break at the correct moment. So you need to go back. I usually go back about 5 to 10 stitches depending. And then restarting the design, getting the design going. But definitely one of the things that I do love, and I already have this kind of set up. So I'm gonna exit out of this menu. If you go into embroider parameters and you go to frame, it'll show you all of the parameters for your frame. I'm set up for millimeters. Thankfully, working with lasers has gotten me used to millimeters, but I've never been able to actually adjust the location for the center point on any of my frames ever. And one of the things that I've discovered, thanks to all of the support from the really good user groups that I am in with other Ricoma users, verified Ricoma users, by the way, because the group on Facebook called Ricoma Connect is run by Ricoma. So they verify that your serial number is active and actually in your name. But right here with the cap hoop, and this is their cap hoop, I do have the Hoop Tech Gen 2 coming. You can actually change the Y size for the depth and the center to get closer to the brim than you would with their default settings. Now, I cannot speak to if that's something you're supposed to do or not, but pretty much everybody does it. The key thing is when you do that, and you know, I've got my design set up here and ready to go, you always need to trace the design. You need to trace that design, and then I'm gonna let it trace it real quick. I'm just gonna trace it, and then I'll show you the next menu that comes up. And then there's this one right here where it'll actually go much slower just around the border of the design. So let me show you how it does that, and you'll get an idea. So here's the dad hat that I have hooped in. You know, it's only on hats where I ever miss having the ability to scan a picture of the object that's hooped and see my design overlaid on top of it. That's a feature I do miss from the Brother, but I only miss it with this. And here's why. You know, hats can be weird, but with hooping this hat, it just is so easy. It just goes right into the channel. But with this one, so what you do is you put your finger right here and you can align it using all of the tools on the display panel to move it left or right, or you can move it up and down, and it will do from center. I've not figured out how to get it to go from center, but if you press that nice little trace that goes directly around the design itself, it'll go around and you can see, okay, is it gonna bump into the metal portion of the bar for this hoop? And it wasn't, it got close, it did, but it's not gonna actually do the thing. Boop. And that's it, you just pull this down, which also, the needle will come with it. It's also a great way to thread it, just to get it out of the way if you need to get back there and you don't have tweezers. So, yeah, I won't lie, like the first few days after getting the training, I kind of stared at it like, I'm scared to use this without being babysat. But once I got used to everything and where all of the controls were that I like and am used to from over the years, once I found all that stuff, I was fine. Like, quite literally, it's like, okay, this all makes sense, and I can do the things that I'm used to doing with the new machine. That's really kind of how I learn a lot of things, is I just dive in. I don't really watch tutorials or do classes or read the freaking manual, as the kids these days would say. But if you're experienced with a multi-needle machine, then this won't be that hard to pick up. If you're not experienced with a multi-needle machine, you might want to consider going back a step to their 10-needle model, the EM1010. That one's a little more beginner-friendly and gives you 10 needles, right? So, but there is actually a 15-needle model that is a little more beginner-friendly as well. This is just the welcome to embroidery kind of machine. So, but I love it so far. Now, in terms of like mechanics, I've basically covered the differences that I feel that have impacted me the most, coming from a more domestic machine, a more simplified machine, than going to a Ricoma of this caliber, right? I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to really call this industrial or not, but it looks really freaking industrial, and it's on a steel table, and I had to put it in my garage. I don't know, terminology and all that, because I don't want to scare anybody off. You know, I don't want anybody to go, oh God, I can never learn that. But I mean, I learned it. I dare say anybody could pick this up, especially if you have a support system. Like, one of the things I absolutely could not do was call somebody to get help with my machine when I needed it. If I called my brother dealer, they were like, yeah, okay, yeah, goodbye, you have fun with that. I bought the machine, I put it in my car, I took it home, I set it up, and that's where the support ended. I got nothing, and nothing, not a thing, no free classes, nothing. And with this, I had what should have been about a 3 to 4 hour training session. Now, mine was shorter because I understand multi-needle embroidery. I've used machines before, but you get like a training session, and not only that, but you can join their Facebook group. They have customer support, phone line, email, video if you need it. You can re-request the training or training in a specific topic at any point. That's like baller. I really love it. But the really big thing for me is I never felt like I had consistency with my other machine. I would do one towel, and I would take that off, and I would put another towel on, and it just never looked right, never looked the same. Same thing with hats. I would do a hat, and it was like, cool, this is awesome. Put the next hat on there. Nope, something was wrong. I constantly had thread breaks. I had loops in the top. And it irked me, you know? And I don't know, that could have been user error. Absolutely could have been user error, but it's also things that just come with the, you know, the domestic tag, right? You buy a machine that's meant for the lowest common denominator, you're going to get lowest common denominator results. No offense to anybody who needs the lowest common denominator, of course. Not everybody's in the same place and can do all the things. I just have ADHD and don't know how to manage it without purchasing a bunch of stuff and learning new things constantly. Here's a great example. These are two completely different types of caps. On one, you have the snapback, which is totally not my style, but I still wanted to use it. This is one of the samples that came with the machine from AutoCap. And this is a dad cap. These are the ones I like because I don't like the trucker look. I like it to be squishy up top and just kind of fit to my head. But these are the exact same designs. I did not change the designs, and the results are very consistent between the two. I've never had that happen before, and I love it. Now, if we take away these hats and we bring up my wonderful Orcas 2024 Screw Them Yachts hat, put it center because I'm OCD, then you'll see this also turned out really well. And because I live with gremlin energy, I basically did this as a first attempt, as in I did not care. Let me zoom in for you. I did not care if I wasted the hat. I wanted to give it a shot. About the only thing that I feel like I could have done a little better was get it a little closer to the brim, but this was one of those hats where I was trying to figure that out. So obviously I need to spend a little more time with it, but I did want to give you kind of my unfiltered first impressions of the Ricoma MT-1501. I love it. It does take a bit of adjustment. There were some features that I missed, like the camera, the scanning in the camera. But let's face it, it's a crutch. It's a nicety, but it's a crutch. You should probably be a little less lazy and actually hoop things correctly the first time, Georgia. It's so hard. But definitely the threading. Auto threading, oh my God, where are you? I miss you. Ha! But on the flip side, I don't actually have to like move the head around to thread it when I need to. I can just thread it as needed instead of moving it around every time. So there's that. It's a lot faster, definitely faster, but again, with any machinery that you get, just because you can go that fast does not mean you should go that fast. So precaution to the wind. I only do the hats at 450 stitches per minute, just so everybody is aware. I won't go above 450. And if it's flat, I have not gone above 900, and this is based on what my teacher told me when I did the training. So with all of that in mind, I'm gonna leave you and go rest my legs, sit on ice, take a few Advil or 2, 10 maybe, and leave you with a time-lapse video of me doing a dad cap on the Ricoma 1501. The logo that you'll see is for Frabjous Cafe. It is a cat cafe located in Wake Forest, North Carolina. They foster cats and kittens with the hope of adopting them out to patrons. Since I already have 4 cats and I cannot under any circumstances, adopt another, I've decided to donate my services and my time to produce goods for them and decorations and things that they can have to help draw in more clientele and hopefully adopt out their cats and kittens.